Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, your premier platform for real-time global insights. We're just looking here over the last 3 days. We had quite a bit of activity across the country. We watched a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity that emerged in parts of the southeast that is now becoming the beginnings of what will be known as Barry here over the coming days. It also produced a lot of extremely heavy rainfall in and around the New Orleans area, and we'll talk about that more in a few moments here. In the northwestern United States, we noticed the trough came in, brought the coastal showers, which we had discussed, and also a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity here in parts of Idaho and Montana. But as this system progressed through the northern part of the United States, we can see some extremely heavy rainfall through parts of North Dakota and South Dakota. Some locations are picking up well over 3 inches of rainfall. Some spots in here where we additionally had some hail and some strong winds, seeing up over 6 inches of rainfall. But I visit central Nebraska quite a bit, and I've been to several of the towns that were influenced here by some very strong storms that produced in some locations over 8 inches of rainfall, some incredibly strong winds, like I said, over 75 miles an hour, and some hail. Getting down here around Kearney area, we saw places there, just the flood damage, well, it looked something like this. It's incredible to see what we're dealing with here. But as I said, I know a lot of the nation is focused on what's going on in the tropics as we look forward in the forecast. So I just want to take you there quickly. Even before Barry's influence will hit New Orleans, the video that's over there on the left, posted by Peyton Malone, he sent this to the National Weather Service, shows the flooding we're already dealing with in the French Quarter and in this part of New Orleans. And you can see over there in the animation on the right what the beginnings of Barry is starting to look like. So riding through here, a lot of tropical convection. We're going to talk about this in a few moments. And what are the influences on the position and movement of this tropical system? Because as it comes up from the south, it will be very important, bringing some extremely important rainfall to parts of the Corn Belt. Believe it or not, we need it in parts of the Corn Belt. So let's diagnose the path of where this one is going, okay? Starting you off first here, this is just from National Weather Service and NOAA. We have had a couple of important features that have moved through that we need to discuss. First of all, higher atmospheric pressure in place here throughout the day today on Thursday in the midsection of the United States. Around its periphery, a front that has slid through, dropping humidities, cooling things off a little bit, but this will also be producing here in parts of the northeast threat for severe weather today. We have a second weaker system that is moving through south central Canada, and the front that is associated with it might bring the risk of some stronger storms here in this region, and you will be seeing today convective activity kind of blowing up here out in the Intermountain West and the Four Corners states. But what we want to talk about here is what's going on with this tropical system, which is right now potential tropical tropical cyclone, 2, will more than likely become tropical storm Barry and then possibly hurricane Barry before making landfall, probably in Louisiana. So let's talk about it. Now, there's a few things that are at play here, and I want to start off by looking here at the height of 700 millibars in the atmosphere. So we're a couple thousand feet up in the atmosphere. And you're looking at that animation over there on the left. That's the flow pattern early this morning on Thursday. And what's important is there's a frontal boundary right in through here, behind which we can see there is much drier air. So I just drew an arrow through some of that drier air. And as the circulation of the system that will become Barry has to interact with this particular frontal feature will actually more kind of help, I think, Barry stay on a track that takes it more like this. All right, now that's an important feature because that is what's dominating the lower levels, the steering currents of what's going on with Barry. Some drier air, like we said, right in through this area. We can see this upper level ridge sitting over here, and as a consequence, again, this particular frontal boundary sitting right in through there may help keep Barry more east rather than pushing it straight up into parts of Missouri and Illinois. But there's some conflicting, steering current here. So I'm going to take you from there up a level in the atmosphere. Now we're going to animate the winds at 500 millibars. Much more defined ridge here. And you can see the winds right now coming pretty strongly here out of the north and east. And this may make a case for taking Barry a little bit farther to the west. Now, to put it all together, what I kind of want you to see here is that these stronger winds in the mid-levels of the atmosphere may dominate where Barry is going to go initially, pulling it farther over to the west into New Orleans. But with the position of that front and another one sweeping through later on, we may end up getting Barry taking more of a track right up the gut of the Mississippi and then over into the eastern Corn Belt. Now, it's important as we do this to kind of just see what's going on right at landfall, because that'll be a crucial time period. And then we'll do some model trends here to really see what's going on. So I'm going to take you first over here on the left. This is looking at the operational European model for Friday night when we're expecting to see Barry making landfall. And that's at 500 millibars. So we're about halfway through the thickness of the atmosphere. And we're then going to take you down to where about a mile above the surface and see what's going on. Now, again, at this particular point, the ridge is well established. We can actually see some stronger flow on this side. Again, this bodes well for pulling Barry a little bit farther to the west. But if you come down here into the lower levels, look at this side of the tropical cyclone here, having some very, very strong winds while flow is much weaker on the other side. This actually helps pull Barry along in this direction. So there's a bit of a competition here in the two different levels of the atmosphere that will impact Barry's eventual track. So I'm going to show you the operational European model that was run 0Z here, and what I want you to see is the latest kind of forecast track. So we're going to look at precipitation to see where this one's going. And what we really see, if I just kind of draw a line right through the middle of the heavier precipitation, is a track something like this. But we need to, in a moment, take a look at what we call deprog DT, looking at the model trend with this particular system. But what I really want you to see here, so let's get rid of this arrow, is that Barry's biggest threat all along is going to be flooding rains in the lower Mississippi River Valley, then potentially beneficial rains in parts of the Corn Belt, which have been very warm and in some locations actually quite dry. So we need to figure out where this is going to go. Now, the reason why you see things drier here, well, this is primarily due to the upper level ridge, although we will be seeing a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity in this area, which I just highlighted for you. And we'll talk in a few minutes about what's going on here in the northern plains when we get kind of to that part of this forecast video. So let me show you the latest ensemble kind of cluster. So this is 51-member ensemble from the European. You can still see a broad potential track here. Now, we might be tempted to say, well, let's just take it right down the gut here. That is probably the most plausible thing, but want you to know that anywhere within that kind of cone that I drew are possible situations, and you've now seen what the potential steering is. But in terms of differences from yesterday, more of these ensemble members are bringing it through southern Illinois, right into the Ohio River Valley, than taking it on a further north track. It's not to say that that track isn't still a possibility, but the latest model runs do want to keep this a little bit farther to the south, bringing it through Arkansas, after Louisiana, of course, going through the Boot Hill, Missouri, southern Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky. That is kind of the track of this particular system. Now, let me show you the last four model runs. We're going to look at this track by watching the precip, okay? So this is the model run four runs ago. We can see that the main precipitation shield was actually coming up into Illinois and Indiana. Now let's go to the run that was after that. Look at this much more westward track coming now right through parts of central Missouri than to central Illinois and actually up into Michigan. Then yesterday's 12Z model run, look at this one, came back over to that southern Illinois track, and this is the latest over here, taking it again more toward that southeastern. So we've seen the model track over the last three runs push this, once it gets into the Corn Belt, more toward the Ohio River Valley than coming up into parts of central Missouri, Illinois, and northern Indiana. So that's at least the model trend. We're going to have to keep watching this, and that's why our Friday updates will be quite important here. What's the National Hurricane Center doing? The National Hurricane Center, looking over here at the map that's on the left, this is their cone of uncertainty here. This is, again, based off of historical statistical error. We can see a couple of things here that are important. One, they're making landfall here certainly west of New Orleans, which is important for New Orleans, but getting this up to a hurricane strength, more than likely a Category 1 strength hurricane, although there's enormous uncertainty in the potential strength because the Gulf of Mexico is bathwater right now, and if this particular system is able to become vertically stacked, it could very easily strengthen a bit more rapidly than this. But then, of course, on landfall, weakened to tropical storm strength as it moves to the north. So that's their 5-day graphical outlook here on where this is going. Now, I want to animate for you what's going on over here on the right, and this is a major concern of mine. You see, if Barry does make landfall west of New Orleans, the strongest winds will actually be coming in and around just like this on the right-hand side, and that will push against the Mississippi River. So in addition to the extremely heavy rainfall we just had and the rainfall that is coming in, the storm surge on the right-hand side of this system will be pushing again against the Mississippi River, meaning the flooding threat there will continue. And there are some river gauges in the southern Mississippi that have been in flood stage since February. So this is an ongoing problem in that part of the country. So let's now switch over to our high-resolution rapid refresh model, starting you off at 6 a.m. Central Time on Thursday. And I want you to watch again a few things. Watch for the stronger thunderstorm activity here as the first system is pulling on off in this direction, the main frontal boundary in through here at this point. Secondly, you can watch the tropical convection associated with Barry. And again, around that broader ridge over here, you're just going to see lots of thunderstorms cranking up in this area. So let's just take us out into the middle of the day tomorrow. Here we go. There's the animation moving forward. Now you do see moving through parts of the northern plains here, there will be a front that will start here and progress toward the south and east. And that is why, let me get those drawings off there for you. You do see the widely scattered showers and storms in the overnight hours on Thursday getting into Friday morning. If we just step this back and watch it again here, let's get some timing on this. So here we are Thursday afternoon, getting into the evening hours. Convection popping here over the Four Corners states. A lot of thunderstorm activity here in the mid-Atlantic to the northeast. And again, just due to the heat and humidity, we're still popping storms here over the southeast. Throughout the late afternoon, early evening, you now see the storms, there they are, associated with that frontal boundary. So widely scattered showers and storms here in the north central plains, moving through a region that just got a lot of very heavy rainfall. I'm talking about this area right up through here. So that's kind of getting you through middle of the day on Friday. Let's now switch over to the European model and see where we take it from here. So I'm going to click play, step you back here so we can watch this together. High pressure dominates the middle part of the country. Here's our low pressure system dragging its front through the north central plains, bringing those showers and storms. Here's the main front from the system before that, stretching through basically the whole of the east coast here. So we're looking out here at Thursday evening. Now, as we move forward with the operational European model, we can see that the Corn Belt up until this point dominated by higher atmospheric pressure, at least this section of the Corn Belt, which is keeping us relatively dry, and you're going to see in a few moments on the warm side. We can see what will be Barry making landfall more than likely in this region in Louisiana, and then going straight up the gut of the Mississippi River. See it there? Now, in the meantime, I've got you out now to Sunday night. We will see a shortwave trough moving through the north central part of the United States, and associated with it, more scattered showers and storms for southern Canada and the northern part of the U.S., really hitting North Dakota here. So this is now Monday morning. This is Monday afternoon, Monday evening. Now, this is quite important for where Barry is going to go at this point, because this low pressure system currently forecast by the European model about 120 hours out. So this is Monday evening, has a low here. The frontal boundary will be stretched right into this area. And what will be key will be to see how quickly this frontal boundary advances through Iowa into Illinois and potentially helping to push Barry on off to the north and east quickly. You can see why the current forecast for Barry brings it up through southern Illinois, then to the Ohio River Valley, because that frontal boundary gets right into here relatively quickly and helps to push it away. Now, after that, we can see widely scattered showers and storms. This is now next Tuesday into Tuesday night along a boundary that will still be sitting in this area. Okay, so we're going to watch this quarter again, Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. And that then pushes on through. So won't dare take you out beyond next Friday at this point, more than a week out here, simply because we're going to lose a lot of our confidence in the forecast. But that's what we're looking at here in the near term. In terms of temperatures, this is what high temperatures look like in the day on Thursday with respect to normal. So we're comparing this to normal. You can clearly see where that frontal passage has been, because the cooler weather that is behind it is going to be very much welcomed in this part of the country after some extreme heat and humidity just yesterday. But you can already see the warmth rebounding on the back side of this. Remember, that ridge is sitting right over through here. So let me animate this forward and kind of show you where we're going in terms of high temperatures compared to normal. Remember, this is the hottest time of year climatologically. So when you see these above average temperatures, remember, this is really pushing some high temperatures here. So Friday, section right here through the Corn Belt, anywhere between 4 and 7 degrees above average. Again, we're still seeing the influence of the front sliding through parts of the eastern United States. Also, we can now see the cooling that is happening due to the cloud cover and rain from Barry. But look north of it where the ridge is still occupying this region. Again, 5 to 7 degrees above average. This is Saturday. As we get into the day on Sunday, still much warmer than average across the northern part of the United States. Influence of Barry clearly being seen here in the temperatures. Northwest, still dealing with the trough sitting off the coast. That's why we see the cooler than average weather there. Let's move on into Monday. Still, look at the north central plains, anywhere between 7 and 10 degrees above average. And then as I get you out to next Tuesday, and then even out to next Wednesday, we see the heat stays on. And I want to talk with you about the pattern that's keeping part of the Pacific Northwest much closer to average, maybe even at times cooler, and this keeping us warm here in the central United States. Looking at your next 5 days from the European model, I'll tell you this, the GFS has been really bouncing around run to run. Much more consistent picture here from the European model. We can see the influence of Barry's cloud cover and the warmth that will be on the northern side of it. You can also see the cooler weather in parts of the Northwest. Looking at days 5 through 10, really we can see the influence of that flow, keeping much of the country warm under a broader ridge. And as I stretch this out to the 11 to 15 day forecast, again, look at the warmth that hangs on. We've now painted this pretty consistent story here over our last several videos, talking about how this is a more persistent, warmer pattern through the end of the month. Now, to show you where we are, I'm going to show you this neat graphic over here on the left. This is looking at U.S. kind of corn acres, looking at the departure from the mean temperature over the last 180 days. So going back, this is our very cold February, March. There's kind of the persistent cooler weather and wetter weather that we had in April and May. But if I just come back here to June 1st, if I just kind of draw a line up here in June 1st, outside of the cooler weather that parts of the Corn Belt saw in the mid part of the month, when you look at the area under the curve here, we can see that the warmer time period at the beginning of June and then at the end, getting into July here, has what's really helped us actually get about a day ahead in this region in terms of the accumulation of growing degree day units. So we've made up some progress here with some recent heat, but the big concern is it's going to continue to stay on. And just to continue with that narrative, looking out here to day 5, so this is next Monday evening, we can see the flow pattern is still doing something like this. So we have these main features here. Remember, we talked about them in our long-range update yesterday, these upper-level troughs that are sitting kind of surrounding the North America here, but a broader ridge is trying to form underneath it. And, of course, that right there would be Barry. So let me get you out past Barry. Let's go all the way out to the 10-day forecast. Now look at this. Dominating the flow pattern, that's what we've got. Much broader ridge here, which is why the heat is staying on, okay? And again, we talked about this a lot yesterday in the long-range update. And then finally taking you out to July 26th here. Look at how broad this particular ridge feature is. So this is what happens when the jet stream retreats to Canada, and that's why we see such warmer than average weather across much of North America as we progress out here to the 15-day forecast. Again, climatologically the warmest time of year. Just to finish this up, I want to show you something. This is the 5-day graphical outlook from the National Hurricane Center. Even though you don't see anything going on right here, right now, we are seeing, again, some support in the upper levels of the atmosphere, pushing things over into parts of the Atlantic, the Caribbean, the main development region here as we progress through the end of July. What I want you to watch down in this animation in the bottom left, kind of global precipitation here as measured by satellite. We do see quite a bit of tropical activity that is going on right here across Africa. So that's a good precursor for allowing systems to develop in the Atlantic once things get going. And if I play that again for you one more time, I want to take you up to make sure you're seeing what's going on here in Europe. Remember, we've had a broader trough feature sitting here north of the Black Sea. So look in there, you can see quite a bit of counterclockwise circulation, bringing a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity to that area. So let's talk next about what's going on in Europe. In Italy, yesterday, major severe weather outbreak here. Some huge hail that has fallen in that area. What's going on with the overall flow pattern? We have a high over low setup here. We're going to watch actually this piece of this upper level trough sweep through, along with this piece over here sweeping through, and this upper level low kind of sneaking in as well. What does that mean? Well, that means a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity for Central Europe, and it also means that over the next 7 days, due to the position of that trough, just to kind of show you where you are in the world here, this is Ukraine, okay? And this is the southern part of the Russian wheat belt, which I just drew some lines through there, with the Black Sea being south of it right in through here. So we do actually see in the operational model runs a bit of a change over the last couple of runs here, bringing a lot more rainfall into that area. Now, switching over to what's going on in Asia. Remember, our major growing regions in China are going to be sitting here and here with respect to corn, soybeans, and other crops like that. Overall, the northern growing regions are a little bit wetter over the next week, but the southern growing regions in through here on a drier pattern. The main precip is sitting right here along the Mayu front. I've talked about it a lot, expecting even more flooding. Southern half of India, very, very dry compared to normal, but right up here in the Himalayas, again, expecting anywhere between 1 foot and 2 feet of rainfall, which is typical of the monsoonal flow. So they are very dry here compared to normal, given that the monsoon should be fully pumping at this point. To finish this up, just want to give you some global perspective here. We've already talked about the regions over there in India, China, and what's going on in Europe. But I just want to say right down here in parts of Indonesia, model forecasts are picking up on a drier pattern as we start to shift with the Mann-Julian oscillation, our heavier precipitation farther to the east. That's also consistent with what's going on with the weakening of El Nino. Hey, that was a lot of stuff here, but we've got a very active pattern. I want to make sure we got a chance to discuss it all, but I'll wrap it up right there. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions, thank you for your attention. Hope you look forward to our forecast videos that come out at my.nutrienagsolutions.com. Have a great week. Thank you.